Not that this video is probably allowed for a lot of people to see it, but I want to talk about the EFSA, which is the European Food Safety Authority, and the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration, and their differences and why the fuck America does not care about its consumers. Okay, first let's talk about why the FDA is called the Food and Drug Administration, because when I think about it, I'm like, food and drug? Food and drug? Why are you together? Why is that controlled under the same authority? Weird. So, before the FDA existed, food and medicine were basically the Wild West. Tons of fake health claims, dangerous additives, and no regulations. Think cocaine and Coca-Cola and mercury-laced medicine. Then, the Pure Food and Drug Act came out in 1906, which was the first law to regulate both food purity and drug safety together because both industries were rampant with fraud and contamination. This eventually led to the formation of the Food and Drug Administration in 1930, which kept the two categories under the same umbrella. So, instead of creating separate agencies, the US government lumped together food and drugs for efficiency, aka they're just lazy. Over time, food safety and drug approvals became totally different processes, but instead of splitting them, the FDA just added separate divisions. Okay, now, if you've made it this far in the video, I'm going to assume you have a pretty good brain, and I'm going to ask you to use it just a little bit to think just a little bit about what I'm about to say next. The food industry and pharmaceutical companies have massive lobbying power in the US. If you don't know what lobbying power is, it's basically when companies spend money to persuade politicians to make decisions in their favor. So, keeping food and drugs under one agency makes it easier to push policies that benefit corporations over consumers. And this is why food additives and ultra-processed foods get approved so easily while drug prices remain ridiculously high. So, are you ready to accept that Americans are not America's #1 priority? No? Okay, I'll go on. Let's compare the FDA in the United States to the EFSA in Europe. Alright, starting off with how they regulate things. The FDA runs under a risk assessment approach, meaning an ingredient stays legal until it's proven dangerous. In Europe, they use the precautionary principle, meaning an ingredient is banned until proven safe. The FDA's food safety approach allows artificial additives, GMOs, and chemicals with little long-term testing. The EFSA has stricter restrictions on additives, GMOs, and food dyes. The FDA allows companies to self-certify additives as genuinely recognized as safe, meaning the FDA doesn't always test them. In Europe, companies must provide scientific evidence of safety before approval. The FDA widely uses and does not require labeling for GMOs, genetically modified organisms. And can you guess? Highly restricted and labeled in most European countries. So if you just listen to everything I just said and your mind is not turning wheels